Welcome to another episode of Man Tips presented by the Talking Small podcast. Today I'm going to show you how to fix an LG washer with an LE or load air. In order to do that and take it apart, you're going to need either a drill. I'm just going to use a Phillips screwdriver. It's just easier for me. And then a 17 millimeter socket. I've already taken the back off previously so I could see what was wrong. I actually place a wire that goes from the wire harness to the motor stator and the hall sensor. Now, other things could be issues here is this hall sensor, the stator's bad, or you could have a worn bushing or gear. There's a plastic gear in there that helps with the direct drive. That could also be worn. So I'll also replace that plastic part. I'll show you how to do that. Alright, once you unplug and pull it off the wall a little bit, you'll see this back panel here. You got a screw here, which, hold on, you can't see because of the hose. Screw here, screw down there, screw over here, and a screw kind of up here. So we'll go ahead and take those screws off. I mean, some people use a drill for this. I just don't think you really need to, so, you know, whatever. Each their own. Alright, and this kind of sits in this little channel right here. So for me, I just lift up on the bottom, comes right out. Alright, so now you got the back of the motor exposed. And you got what they call the rotor right here. There's a little plastic part I'm talking about. And what you got to do here is you got to use your 17 millimeter on that. And you got to kind of pop it. So I'm going to need two hands. So I'm going to put this back so I can show you a little bit. And you want to just kind of, and just like that, kind of comes off. So what this bolt does, it kind of holds your rotor in place, and you can kind of start shaking it off. It's like kind of magnetic, so it kind of sticks to the stator a little bit. So you just kind of get them off, and there you go. Now, I'll get this kind of close so you can see. But you see, it's got little teeth here in the plastic, and they're really worn. You can buy this whole part for about 150 bucks, but if you look over here, you can just replace the plastic inner thing on an aftermarket part, which is what I'll do here in a little bit. Now, you can see why it looks like the issues with the cable here, because you can see that you're having actually a lot of discoloration, and that's causing your issue. So to unhook it, you got let's see if I can get back there. You got one wire harness going here to the stator and one right here going to the hall sensor that we're going to have to disconnect. One on the hall sensor, you just go tab in the back, you just pull out. This one right here, you're going to have to take your screwdriver and take this support off of it. The reason that support's on there, so when it's moving around and whatnot, you don't have the wire doesn't kind of stays relatively close to it, so it doesn't have any issue. You just take that off. All right, so this one's a little bit harder. You got to pinch in on both sides, and I might not be easily able to do it one hand. Oh, there you go. See, no issue. And then you'll just have to work this off. There's another ground here. Get in here, right here, that we're going to have to undo. And then there's a support here, and then a ground right here. And then here's where the connections are. All right, so you had a, and it's got to focus a little bit here, but you had a zip tie kind of supporting it right on this plastic support right here. So you'll need another zip tie to go back with it. No big deal, just any zip tie should work. It doesn't need to be really heavy duty or anything. What I did is I pulled this bag back off here, and we'll be able to disconnect like that. And look in here. We'll need two hands on this one. So if you kind of look at this here, you see that your wires were actually fried, which is why I was getting the error. These wires have been in there for 10 years, so I guess they got their use out of them. Back here, this is the stator, or stator, however you want to say it. You got 6 bolts here that you take off, and this whole piece will come out. Here's the gear, so this is actually what drives the motor spinning. So as they move current through the different points on the stator here, this will rotate in different directions. And your Hall sensors there to kind of, which is right on the back side of here. It's kind of hard to see. But in order to replace that, which is a common thing here, you take these bolts off, and then the Hall sensors right back here. So now what I'll do is I'll put the new wire on. As you can see, this part number right here is the LG part number. I just searched on this on Amazon and got this. So we'll go ahead and put it back on. Alright, so first thing we'll go ahead and do is a reconnect down here. Blue on blue, white on white. We'll put this bag back over it, just to make sure no water or anything that potentially is dripping from the top side will be able to get in there. And there's a zip tie, or not a zip tie, kind of a wire tie. You can kind of get that. Kind of seal off a little bit there. Alright, so here we'll go ahead and get this ground wire back in. Alright, ground nice and tight. Alright, and then we will come around and attach the other wires. So the Hall sensor, which I'm going to have to get up in so you can see that one. And still can't see it. Okay, so it's this one right here. Alright, that one's plugged in there. Your next one's going to come back around. Plug it back there, right behind there. So there's the first one. There's the second one. And then you'll screw in your ground. It's really hard to get the camera back up in here. Screw your ground in right there. Alright, so now we're going to get the support clip. Fit back up right up here. Alright, it's really hard to see. And you should just be able to Screw that in nice and snug. Alright, so we went to the old cable. Make sure you get your supports off of it. Put one there, put one there, put one there. See, you got the ground, got this ground, got the zip tie back on, and you're in the back. So now your cable's completely done. And this is where you would go ahead and put the what they call a rotor back on here. But now I'm going to show you how to take that part. Now looking back at our problem, now that's a little easier and I can get up and show you. Clearly we just had a wire break in here. Now why that happened, just over time of it moving around or whatnot, not exactly sure. But that's a good reason why you kind of open the back panel when you start having that error and just double check and see what you got. Alright, now I'll show you how to replace that plastic part. Alright, so we got our new part here, and what we're going to do, we got a ratchet with a 10mm. I'm going to break these bolts here. We're going to pop this bad boy out. So give me 1 second so I can get situated. And these are kind of hard to take off. They're not coming off super easy. So I'm going to use both hands now. Alright, now that we have the bolts out, all you got to do on this side is do a little push, and boom, comes right out. And you can see that this piece is really, really worn. This new piece looks really, really good. Okay, see the hole size, the larger holes, get those inputs right in there, and we'll go ahead and screw these back in. Very easy swap out. Saved probably about $100 for that just little piece right there versus buying the whole assembly. Alright, so now that we got the new piece in here, and it should go in pretty easy because it's magnetic. Then so some people put some Loctite on here. I'm going to not do that right here. I don't think that's super important. I can get it tight enough. But if you do end up experiencing some issues or things down the road, you can always put in Loctite there. And I'm going to have to use 2 hands here to bump it to make sure it stops. Alright, so now that we got this one nice and tight, you can see it spins. Actually sounds really good, no friction there. We'll take the back piece. Again, you're going to put the top in first, then you should be able to drop it into the bottom. It's a little close to see that, but I'll put the 4 screws back on, push it against the wall, plug it in, and that'll be it. That's another episode of Man Tips presented by the Talking Small podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for more man tips. Thank you. Bye.